Right. So nearly everyone had found a seat, and that is the first thing. So we are comfortable sitting here. We will be up and walk around later on and have all the things we need. So most welcome everyone. Och I'm Billy Josephson, LFV, and I have the honor to welcome you. I will also take part in setting the scene. I will also give you some essential information in the beginning of this session. I will also give you a kind of prelude for tomorrow. So it's a multifaceted mission I have. I will start to give you essential information. In case of an emergency situation. Pia? Yes. And Jessica? Yes. Point at the emergency exit, please. Pia. Jessica. Yes. And behind. Over there and over there. If there is an emergency, these doors will be opened quickly. If there are smokers, you have to leave the building and walk over the road and be on the grass area, some 10-15 meters from the arrival hall entrance. Today, photo is allowed. Photo, sharing, any media, that is allowed. Yesterday we had an event in Linköping at Saab. No photo, no sharing. Today, please share. And the event is now streamed also over a YouTube link. So there are visitors far away following us. Okay, now I like Anne-Louise, Pia, Jessica, Nadia, Aisha to come up on the stage. You have to be able to identify these people quickly. Quickly. Here we go. Because without these people, we haven't been here today, and it had looked like that, and all the things that are in place. It's amazing what these have done, and they also have some more tasks to do today and tomorrow. Pia, our main communicator, and Anne-Louise, our logistics and strategist in event, and Nadia, her deputy, Aisha, overall scientific outlook over the event, and Jessica, the interface to the airport. And it's a real fantastic, because without this interface and the generosity from the municipality and the Norrköping airport, we haven't been able to invite as many as you, because that is all sponsored right now. So I think we give that a big hand. So it's a real collaborative effort. So please ask these people or grab them if you need any help or assistance in any way. And we also have thanks, which will be more detail later on, to the European Union and the National Transport Agency, which also are represented here. Swedish Transport Agency, in the role as coaching and overseeing and giving advice to our activities, is very important. And also the LFV operations department with all their units, in particular in this area, but also the competency general have been contributing here. We have air traffic service units in Linköping, and we have the Östgöta approach unit, and we have the Saab SDATS unit also, and Kungsängen, this airport, which is aviation capacity resources, and they also represented here, and the armed forces. So you see, there's many actors needed to make this happen. That is the thing. It's a collaborative effort. And on top of this event, I think it's fair to say this event is LFV who leads this part of the Chorus project, which will be explained very soon. It's quite linked and complex. But we couldn't sort out all aspects of our task on our own. even if we are very competent and have a high level of technical skills in our company, we needed support from Linköping University. We needed support from independent business group and infrastructure. We needed support from a drone manufacturer and operator, the Katla, which you also see over there. And we will see how all this links together later on. And again, Norrköping Airport with staff and the municipality, amazing effort. So I will very shortly just show you the program of today. We had the lunch. Now we start the seminar, and it's a variety of subjects, and we are many people who contribute to that. But what we like you to be part of that seminar, to take action, to raise your hand, comment, and questions. And it will be 2 or 3 opportunities rather to bring your questions or bring your concerns or your ideas, good ideas. We also welcome, of course, to bring that forward. After each presentation, we have a very short thing for a comment, short questions. And after a number of presentations, we have a little longer discussions on that. And tomorrow there will also be a workshop at the IBG where we have various areas related to this where we can go deeper in a workshop style. And tonight at 6:30, I will say that because we announced other timings before, but 6:30 we have the dinner. 6:30. So I downloaded this weather Monday, I think, this week, and I tried to upload it yesterday. So we'll see how it goes. So, just to set the scene and let you in this world of CESAR and Eurocontrol project, I'm glad to present Andrew Hately here. Andrew, what's good?
Thank you very much, Billy. Do you hear me?
Yes, you can put your slides.
So, a quick introduction to what is Chorus XUM, which is, shall we say, the framework in which today takes place. And Billy advised me quite a number of people today would not be familiar with the world of European activities. So I start with a quick introductory slide, which gives you an overview of the different organizations concerned with aviation in Europe. The one with the most members is the European Civil Aviation Conference, which is an organization which is involved in coordinating a number of things. Many countries which have been members of that go on to join Eurocontrol, which is an organization I work for, which has a number of services, and we get involved in research and support to states and activities like that. The European Union, which you see in dark blue in this picture, has its own interest in aviation, both in the form of the European Aviation Safety Agency and the Single European Sky. The Single European Sky is an initiative of the European Union and has attached to it a research and development organization which is called CESAR. The CESAR is partly funding the work today. This project has been funded by the members and with a contribution from CESAR. So some taxpayer money, some Eurocontrol money, and some industry money. And the fourth thing which exists in Europe is this common aviation area, which is a single market for aviation services in the European area. And it is a larger entity than the European Union. So Chorus XUAM is a project which is partly funded by CESAR, as I said. And this project is one of the largest I've ever worked on. We have 30 participants, formerly 19 members of the consortium. And we are in the process of 6 demonstrations which take place in 6 locations in Europe. Some of them already happened. We had one in March in Spain, in Castelldefels, which is next to Barcelona, where we were delivering goods in an urban area around the beach, and we had something like 11 drones airborne simultaneously, different operators, different UTM systems connected together. It was a very challenging exercise, and 2 people here today took part in that, and they tell me that they negotiated with 10 authorities for something like 5 months to get permission for 3 days of flying. Subsequently, we've had a delivery in Italy from Grottaglie, which is a full-size airport. We went to a small airport with a remotely operated large vehicle, transferred, I think it was vaccine, to a small aircraft which flew. Well, we were hoping to fly to a hospital. We couldn't get permission to do that, so we flew to an archaeological site next to a hospital, and the vaccine was delivered. Again, under the control of a UTM system, so demonstrating the early stages of U-Space. A couple of weeks ago, we had our demonstration in France, in which 2 passenger-carrying vehicles were flown in combination with a large survey drone. The 3 of them were controlled by a UTM system, and we were flying in an area where there was also manned traffic, although that was carefully controlled. Coming up, today we're in Sweden for the Swedish demo, in which we will see an Intercity flight, and in the coming future we shall have some activity in Belgium where there'll be an emergency response into harbor areas, and in Germany again a passenger-carrying aircraft which will be flown in, it says Bruchsal here, it'll be in Kostede, which is a remote area, and the passenger-carrying aircraft will remotely be simulated as if it was flying between Frankfurt Airport and Frankfurt Exhibition Centre, or between 2 airports in London. So there will be flying, but we just couldn't get permission to fly over the heads of the people in Frankfurt. And these 6 demonstrations will support the evaluation of how U-Space can be used to support what we call urban air mobility, which is either goods delivery or passenger transport in an urban area. And this flight today begins and ends in an urban area, although it's an intercity flight. It will be controlled by UTM during the flight, and we will hear more over the next 2 days about the details of how that works. So that's all from me.
Wow. So in terms of the ultimate deliverable out of this, what is that in very short?
We are developing a revised concept of operations. So the chorus activity built a concept of operations for U-Space. This was needed when we started. People were talking about U-Space. They would get confused with what do they mean, how do things work. So what we wanted to do was to build a concept of operations which would record, we were not asserting, but we would record what was the common understanding for how things work. What do terms mean? How do things fit together? What are the processes? And this concept of operations was published in October 2019, and it didn't touch on anything to do with passenger carrying, and it was rather light on a number of topics. So this chorus extension for urban air mobility, we are revising this concept of operations. Yesterday, we published edition number 4, so the first revision. It's available on our website. We're inviting you to comment. Any stakeholder should comment, and we will produce a final deliverable of the ultimate or complete version of the concept of operations. It will be written in January, and it'll be available publicly in April. So I would very much invite you to look at the Chorus XUAM website, look for this feedback form, download the ConOps, read it, write all over it with a red pencil, and then send us your comments. Because we are first to admit that we don't know, we are sitting in our offices, we are boffins, we're not practical in the field. So tell us what's wrong with it, and we can amend it.
Wow, thank you. I think it's a quite useful thing to read this if you are into UAM or linked to this kind of future businesses. You should definitely read it. Thank you, Andre. We have more for you tomorrow and maybe later. Then I'm glad to invite my real boss here, Dr. Ulf Tiblin, CTO. Welcome.
Thank you, Billy. Let's make a sound test. It sounds all right. I'm always a little bit embarrassed when Billy introduces me because we seldom use titles like doctor in Sweden. But it's actually true. But it doesn't really fit into the today, because I'm a doctor in theoretical physics and I have never used the quantum mechanical differential equations working with ATM. Billy asked me to put my perspective on these 2 days, and you can understand, since I'm the director of research, innovation and digitalization, that these are great days for me. We are a part today of a transformation where we learn and understand more how we are going to modernize not only the air transport system, but also the transport system in general, which is definitely needed. We are here because this will lead to a modernization of the infrastructure to provide new services to the society, to the companies, and to the citizens. And we are here because this will also help us to lower the environmental footprint, and we will move towards a fossil-free air transportation system in the future. So, when I was a kid, I loved science fiction literature. And I loved astronomy, looking at the stars and so on. And if you ask some people, they say, don't ask the universities or the management consultants what will happen in the future, but look in the science fiction literature. And I remember I was reading about strange airborne vehicles flying around in cities, in between cities, and I couldn't believe that I would experience this in my lifetime. But here today, we are at the beginning of a new era where science fiction from the old days actually are becoming a reality. And innovation, looking at new ways of finding new solutions and new benefits for the society, has always been at the core of LFV, which we are all very proud of. It's an engine for changing things, and we need in the ATM industry and the aircraft industry to challenge ourselves. And what you see today, or what people see in general, is maybe an aircraft flying, or you see a control tower at an airport. But behind that scene, there are so many actors and so many interlinked activities that has to work. All the way from the airports, the air traffic control, the regulators, different technologies, operational concepts, and so on. And you will hear more about it. So often we talk about digitalization. That is just a very small part of an innovation. So I won't talk more. I could talk for hours about this very, very interesting topic, and I'm really looking forward to listen to your presentation. So most welcome to everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, so now we're coming into a series of talks or presentation of views from 6, 7, 8 different perspectives, and we intend to have them as long as 10 minutes or so. Mine will be a little bit shorter because I already used many minutes. But we have different perspective on this, as also was said by Ulf and Andrew. So there is a multi-actors needed, much more than before. And what is very pertinent in our area and for our demonstration is the link to society, the link to the municipalities and the region, a regional thinking where we have the communication with Norrköping municipality and Linköping municipality. And I presented these kind of workshops in other places. I will also mention this here because it's so important. Because we know we need to understand what kind of competence is needed to take care of this new technology or these new requirements coming from society, use of technology, meeting the environmental requirements and so on. So that is what is really at my heart, to meet society and also understand what will be LFV's role in the future, my company. And how do I collaborate with others? So I like to start a little bit outside to what's going on and what's happening outside the world. There's so many things about to fly. There's already today 30, maybe 40 prototypes flying, and some of them are in certification process. Of course, they shall be used. People, companies, politicians like these to be used. And not all of these going to fly, we know that also, but some of them will. And then there is another 10 or 15 of them coming. And I know also the Katla is in some of these registers also. And this is very much focused, what I'm saying now, on transport of people, transport of things and goods. And this kind of services is quite obvious in some context. For instance, the police and the medical services. And some countries are quite advanced. And there is an immense number, if you look at the numbers also. And you see that US dominates this. That's why Chorus also have a coordination with the US FAA and the NASA every quarter. And also UK is very, very in front of this. It's a company that really think on the future. They like to change the way they do things, going from the old school to the new thing. And this is a significant business, and more companies are thinking along that. And when will it happen? We discussed that. People like to do this a couple of years ago. It has not happened. It may happen next year or in a couple of years. But for things to happen, we need champions. And here is an example on a champion quite close to where we live. They work on to accelerate the introduction of advanced aerial mobility, the urban air mobility. And they have quite good company, as you see on the first line. And they like to implement a new model of aerial passenger transport in the UK. So we can go there and try this rather soon. They are in a certification process, and you see their main vehicle to the right. Other champions more far away, you may say that US, yeah, they are big, but they're also scattered, but they also have freedom in the states to do things. And these things, a couple of senators come together and gather money, and we're very clear on, now we like you to do like this instead. Do it differently, using this new technology, using drone technology. And also, of course, lay the foundation to a future workforce and continue to be in the top of this business. And that is also an example of how the politician and the regulators and the industry come together and agree. And also they find funding for this, which could be a problem. Because maybe you have no clear evidence that these funds will be a good investment. But there will be an investment. It may cost more, but you do something differently. And then you have to find out what's the benefits and what's the business case for that. And also was mentioned in the beginning, we have to start a learning process here in Sweden and in the Nordic countries. That's why we need to come together. My third champion is actually this project, because that is really needed, as we understand. We need a guidance, we need to have these experiences from these different applications, as you see, close to the sea, harbor, cities, between cities, and so on, and various level of advanced services. So that is another champion we really need to pay attention to. So, having said that, I'm still talking about air taxi transportation of people, and these things will happen. Conferences dealing with it, they are fully booked. They are very expensive, but they are fully booked anyway. This is a picture from Estonia. I think we have someone from Estonia here. Not arrived yet. Okay. And also, I would like to pay notion to the thing to the right here, from your side, that the regulator in France organized this seminar recently, and gather the actors and try to learn more and try to understand how they could support this for the Olympic Games coming up very soon in the Paris area, where they like to transport people. Right? If you like to transport, you need something, you need a place to land and start, you need a vertiport. And that is very close to the city planners, to the regional traffic planner. You plan for bus lines or train station. Norrköping plans for a new travel hub or a new station area. Of course, there will be something like this planned in that context. Coming from FAA, EASA Europe were first out with this, and there is also an ISO standard. And if there is an ISO standard, everyone should be able to follow that. So we're looking forward to the number of vertiports coming up. It could also be very simple, just a piece on the ground with some paint maybe. And it could be very advanced and cost a lot of money. So now I come back to the real values of the chorus from our perspective, where we come together with the municipalities and the people responsible for the planning, how to use the properties in the cities, in the regions, how to ensure the transportation and the infrastructure is kept up to date, and what can we do to make it differently compared to today, to be a complement to other infrastructure. And these kind of discussions has, from my perspective, brought also Linköping and Norrköping together, because it's a kind of new thing. You have the data you have. It's the same, and you do the same analysis in Linköping as you do in Norrköping. Regional focus, that's the thing, and that's the thing that European Commission also like us to have. That's our other project. You saw chorus on top. So this is a timeline I like to promote, like to work with. And it may be very aggressive, and it might be very slow, someone thinks. I say I'm so old now, so I don't have time to wait. So we really have to work on this, okay? I'm just doing a small thing. At LFV, we have a fantastic team of people who are very knowledgeable in this area. Some are real experts on the operational part, some are experts on risk and safety, some are experts on operations. Legal aspect is super important, more and more important. Logistics and cybersecurity and visualization and so on. We have a good collaboration with Linköping University because we don't have these competences here. And these people are all here, so please attack them and ask questions. And there's room for more, as you see. So we hope to continue the collaboration with all of you and widen the circle and learn together. That's what we're going to. That's what I have to say. Thank you for attention. And now I'd like to introduce, yes, a very distinguished researcher here we worked with for many years. Yes, take this one. Valentin Polishuk, please.
Thank you. Yes, I'll jump to my web page. I'm a researcher and teacher here in Linköping University, and we have a group here working on a variety of projects within aviation, of course embraced by LFV. And today we'll be talking about some of the projects related to the drones industry. In particular, we've been reading Canopsis, and now thank you, we have a possibility to contribute to one of the Canopsis and trying to understand how these things would look in reality. And we started about 6 years ago trying to understand what is safe and what is unsafe in an urban airspace, how many drones can an airspace take in, what is the threshold, the capacity threshold, how these conflicts between the drones can be managed. We were also looking at doing demand and capacity balancing via economical mechanisms, how the drone operators would pay to what is now called USSP, and so on. We were looking at possibilities to manage conflicts of drones with some simple ideas, like the drones here, the solid circles, when they fly and start conflicting, we would enclose them into these larger circles, and then looking at larger and larger circles depicting the conflict areas and not letting the drones take into the conflicts, so that as to manage the size of the conflicts. Those things would all happen on a single layer. And then we started looking at possibly multi-layered airspace. Of course, the airspaces have layers. We know it very well from the conventional aviation by the alternated altitude rules, reduced vertical separation margins. In fact, 15 years ago, I was doing my PhD in the US, and the Time magazine, for a second, had this picture on the cover about the European airspace. And this is for you to see and avoid example. And I don't know if we will have such things with conventional aviations, but with the drones, maybe yes, we can have them tightly packed in an airspace. And we were looking at different ways, centralized and distributed, single-layer, multi-layer, to resolve potential conflicts in urban airspaces. So if we project that two drones would conflict, we could either do ground delay, we could do different layers, we could do hovering, we could go down to a layer and continue on the same layer. Anyway, altogether we were trying to understand how many layers you need in a city to manage different values of the drone traffic. And then, of course, we were taking into account the population density. So this is not shopping. You're probably getting to know some of the places here. Here is where we are. And again, simulating the drone traffic and trying to understand where we would have more and fewer drones at which parts of the city. And based on that, trying to define something that we would call software-defined airspace, different zoning of the city. Within different zones, we would have different number of layers, and different performance vehicles would be allowed in the different places, and so on. That, of course, is about multitude of drones. One question when we talk about layers is, how do we measure the height at which the drones fly? Well, you can do constant above ground level, but then you would have to jump up and down over every bump in the terrain or in the city. You could do constant above mean sea level, but then you would bump into the terrain or into the buildings. And great minds think alike. EASA and Eurocontrol had this discussion document on something they called CARS, Common Altitude Reference System. Now in CESAR, the project Icarus is given a solution to that. And one solution that we were trying to give is trying to split the area into zones, into, let's say, rectangular zones, so that within every zone, the terrain would not be too rugged. It would be approximately flat. And so that at every such zone, we could assign a certain flight level, and then you would stay not too close to the ground, but also not too far from the ground. So, and this is the result. This is the terrain somewhere around here, and you can see that there are certain flat portions, and some of the portions are more rugged, so you would have to do finer structure. Anyway, yes, we could also look at different tolerances, as how different the terrain height should be at different zones, and so on. But the main thing is that we are doing this with computerized tools, hopefully saving some time for LFV or whoever would be describing these zones. We looked at the same things in urban settings. So in what is now called U-space, what should be the U-space over a city? Of course, we could just box the whole city into a single box, but that would steal too much from the conventional traffic, at least if you want to segregate conventional traffic from the drones. You could enclose every building into a single box, but that would be too complicated in airspace. And so we were trying to find somehow the middle ground to put the city into few boxes and assign separate flight level for each of them. And these are the results for New York. So we took the New York skyline, fattened the building by 50 meters. You are not allowed to fly closer than 50 meters to the buildings. And then trying to cover every set of buildings with a single height zone. Okay, so all in all, what it leads to is to some research agenda like this. We want to understand what is the available airspace where you can fly. Here, there should be much more blue on this screen. Anyway, so we look at the city. We don't want to fly into the buildings. We want to give ways to the conventional aviation. Then we should look on the ground, doing land survey, understanding where we could have vertiports, emergency landing vertiports, the conventional vertiports, and so on. And then eventually design the network connecting the vertiports through the available airspace. And then maybe look how things change depending on the configuration of the runways, performance of the vehicles, weather conditions, and integration with the ATC. And of course, we are not the only ones who looked at these kinds of questions. Some of you have been contributing maybe to the pictures like this from the different stakeholders, but this is kind of not a real city. So we want to see how this available airspace looks like in reality. And talking about abstract things, like doing theoretical physics, you probably know this joke about a farmer coming to the university and seeking help to manage cows. And the researchers give the algorithms, but they don't work in practice. And when the farmer complains, the researchers say, well, my model only works for a spherical cow in vacuum. So once in a while, I feel like I'm on the other side on the fence. These are spherical cities in a vacuum, and we want to give the real pictures of how the available airspace looks like. So yes, we looked at several integration scenarios, no communication with the air navigation service provider or ATC at all, segregation, some kind of integration, and then possibly fully integrated. And again, trying to understand how the available airspace looks like. So this is somewhere in the Bay Area. You don't see in the background the bay itself, but there are a few points of interest, and some of them would be just inaccessible, depending on what kind of integration with the ATC you have. And then we were looking also of how you connect them, what is the stretch of the route, connecting different points, and so on. And things like that, yeah, they support airspace assessment. You can do the air risk using things like that, and so on. Of course, then the corona came, and all of a sudden the airspace was free to fly. Nobody wanted to fly. And we were trying to understand what can we use the drones for. For instance, delivering coronavirus tests. Vaccines were not there yet. And Daily Mail got interested and had an article about our article. I don't know if this is too much to be proud of, to be in the Daily Mail, but anyway. So these are the kind of routes that we were imagining for the drones, in particular flying, yes, over Norrköping Airport, somewhere there, delivering to Billy, where Billy lives. All in all, this was about trying to route many drones, but what about managing a single drone? And if you remember what was on the agenda before Corona, it was the Gatwick incident when the whole airspace had to be closed for prolonged periods of time, and we were looking at how we could morph the stars, so these black things would be the arrival routes to an airport, depending on where the drone could be, where could be the danger area for a drone that was spotted in an airport. And last but not least, one of the main questions, particularly something to be addressed in chorus, at least in this demonstration, is how to route a single good drone. And of course, there are many ways to go between the 2 points. You can go by a short path, but very risky. You can go by a longer path, which would have less risk, or you can go all the way around with a very small risk. And in this risk and length axis, there is something that is operationally viable for the user. They want short routes, but there is something that Transport Styrelsen wants to see, routes with low risk. And we have algorithms to determine this whole frontier of possible solutions, so that hopefully one of these points would be good both for the operator and for the regulator. And yeah, of course, other people ask similar questions. We took the population density into the account. We have an online tool where you can play with your own routes, trying to change the route yourself. You just move it, and it shows you some of the KPIs like exposed population, length of the route, and so on. So yes, we've been publishing. We've been in global news, we've been in local news, and all in all, just to come into my final slide, this is where we see our place. You guys, the stakeholders, you come up with some visionary, very good ideas of how things should look like. We try to formalize, model them, give you, like the CAT scan of the airspace or whatever, what are the constructs and the bottlenecks on different heights in the airspace. Our pictures are not so pretty, very technical. Then we give it to the visualizators. And tomorrow you may go to the visualization center with the other research unit under Billy auspices. Also back there we have the table from Jonas showing some of these things. So with these visualizations we have the ways to communicate back to the stakeholders. Then of course LFV and others do the validation and implementation, and we have the reality. But the overall idea is that probably it's not possible to go directly from the thought to the reality. So we should be going through some cycle like this, and this is where we see our place.
Super. I know there is one or two burning questions or comments, and we can take them now, because what you heard now is a 1-week course normally. So you're welcome to attend that. So who will bring these comments or questions on now to Valentin? Because we understand this is very complex, and it's needed because we like this to be very simple at the end. That's why we need to go complex. Jesper? Yes?
Thank you very much. Vadim Kramar, I am from VTT National Research Center of Finland and also represent the CISA joint undertaking as external expert. Thank you very much. Very interesting presentation, Valentin. Can you please specify what is the maximum number of drones that you managed to simulate in the air? This is first question. And what is the maximum drones that you managed to run in the air physically? So the actual drones.
It's easier to answer the second question. We run 0, and hopefully today there will be 1. In terms of simulations, it's easy for us to simulate a lot of drones. I think we were going to 1,000 or 100,000 over a city, since it's on a computer. And in fact, what we were doing in the very first, so that's the project that we finished a couple of years ago, we were not even managing the conflicts. We were just measuring the probability of having a conflict. And what we saw is that the probability is essentially 0 for quite large numbers. And then when the numbers started to get, I don't know, to 1,000, 10,000, so on, under different definitions of what a conflict means, what is the conflict radius, then we would have to start managing going from unsafe to safe. And even there, we could do it quite easily with UTM, not by installing better software or hardware on the drones, but by just reducing their speed down to a complete stop in the air, hovering. That would essentially decrease the conflict radius, and we would go from unsafe to safe. So again, the answer to the question that, well, when we simulate, we can go up to infinity. And in the simplest case, we don't even have to manage. But then, of course, in other places, we were trying to manage them. And again, there were thousands of drones that we think could be manageable.
I think that will be a good conversation over the dinner. Yes. So you like to know where people are and what they're doing, and also some areas to include that in the risk assessment, the dynamic risk assessment.
Correct. Yes, and for that, of course, we need the cooperation with the stakeholders. The usual thing that people suggest to use the cell phones data, it doesn't differentiate between people inside and outside. And if we want to know the people who are outside, we should use the cameras, the street cameras, the cameras in the cars. It should be completely anonymized. We don't care who exactly is on the street. We only care about the number of people. And if there is enough stakeholder cooperation, hopefully we can get the feed into our algorithms.
Thank you, Valentin. So Kim Silander, my old collaborator in the 90s at the development department. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, so my name is Kim Silander. I'm a former colleague with Billy from LFV, and also worked in Eurocontrol for a while. I'm running Independent Business Group, and I'm going to present a little bit about a challenge. So this is something for Andrew. So pick up, don't look down on your phone, look at me. But this is going to be very interesting for you, for your ConOps. So I'm going to talk about CDM. This is something that I worked with in Qatar. We have some guests from Qatar. I also worked with that in Dubai and in Changi Airport, and we helped Gatwick as well a long time ago. And Independent Business Group, we have an advanced air mobility unit. We are very proud to work with Qatar in a project where we are helping them with the conventional airspace. So we can bring a lot of the conventional knowledge into this advanced air mobility space. The problem is we only know half of the answers. There's a lot of new players from the ground going up, whilst we are trying to get down to the ground with our solutions. So we need to merge a lot of thinking with the municipalities, and that's a big, big challenge for us in the aviation industry. I start with a movie, just to give you some idea. This is from Östersund. Some people like skiing. I do it a lot, like this. This is about a flight going from Östersund Airport to Åre, our biggest ski resort in Sweden. big problem when you drive there. It takes 1 hour 10 minutes to drive from that airport to the ski resort. With advanced air mobility, it will take us 14 minutes, so not a lot of time. And this is why advanced air mobility can give a very green way and a quick way to get from A to B. But not only with people and passengers, you can actually have logistics, healthcare. There's a lot of benefits of having this type of operation. And that's why we are doing this. We are not only doing it to get skiers to the ski resort. We are doing this for societal benefits. And that's why the municipalities are very, very important in the planning on how we fly from A to B, not only over our cities, but as this example today, how do we fly between the cities? We have to think in regions, very important. So, very good, cool video, and that's the problem in this industry. We have a lot of videos, we don't really have the real thing. So next year you come, hopefully we have a vertiport here to test and show you for real life. Anyway, this is what Europe is saying. We need every 3,000 urban citizen would need to have access to a vertiport, meaning more or less suburb to suburb flying. So, and since we don't have, well, we will get one in November, I think, in Paris and Charles de Gaulle, so maybe that's the first one. We have some demo sites, but we have a lot more to do, so to say. They don't have to be advanced, they don't have to have elevators, they need to be cost efficient, because if it's too costly to build a vertiport, well, it's going to be too costly to land. It's quite simple. Somebody's going to pay for the infrastructure, so there's no point having cheap way of flying between A to B if the infrastructure is very expensive. So this is something that we have to consider for the future. But now, Andrew, focus. This is the problem. It's on demand. It's anropstrafik, we call it in Sweden, on-demand traffic. And imagine now we have a vertiport in Friends Arena. Sweden is playing for championship, getting to Qatar. We actually missed it, so let's take the next one. But of course, there's going to be a lot of people that want to come to the same place at the same time. And how do we handle that? How do we handle a higher demand than we have capacity for in taking in landings? And also, how do we handle if somebody flies from an uncontrolled airspace, where you have a vertiport in an uncontrolled airspace, to a vertiport in a controlled airspace, where you mix it with conventional traffic? We need to have procedures that work for both. So the solution here is to look at something that can handle both types of operation. And I think the answer is CDM. Collaborative decision making. That's something that we implement in high density airports that have a lot of traffic. Arlanda uses it, Gatwick, Heathrow. I think we have 30 airports thanks to Eurocontrol. So we have these for one major reason, is to give predictability. We need to know when something lands and arrives. We need to know how long they need to be at hold at the place. And we need to know how long it will take until it can leave that landing spot. That's quite obvious. Otherwise, we can't tell you when you will arrive to your destination. So, by using this, I made an arrival example. Imagine now, we like abbreviations, so you need to take a crash course in this after this seminar. But the turnaround time, the time it takes to be on ground, more or less. Maybe we should inform in advance what is my expected turnaround time. If I have a special assistance for some of the passengers, it will take longer time than if I have somebody that is healthy and well. So we need to really take care of having some sort of predictability in our expected turnaround time. Of course, if we have that, we also need to have answer with an expected landing time. And I, as a vertiport operator, know that I have 5 other drones now waiting, or eVTOLs waiting for landing. So I can actually give an assessment on when I think you will land. And maybe that means that you have to wait 30 minutes up in the air, watch the game from the air, save a lot of ticket money, but the batteries will go, unfortunately. But with the estimated holding time that you actually get from there, we can give you the choice of landing in a vertiport maybe 500 meters to the left of the arena. so we can divert the traffic. Probably you have taken your car somewhere and you see there's an accident, and you see if you take an alternative route, you get quicker to your final destination, and that's the same thing here. So the solution is we just need to tune and tweak the existing definitions, don't change them. This is Eurocontrol, so this is perfect. So we just try to fix it so it works both with the USSP operation and the ANSP operation. Let's take a departure before we go. Then I depart from the scene, if that's okay. Yes. Okay. TOBT, target off-block time, based on the turnaround events. So the event could be the passenger that is supposed to jump on board the eVTOL didn't came to the arrival gate. So maybe that causes a delay. Maybe we have a battery problem. That's something that causes a delay. So that is something that we need to share. Once we've done that, we can give us target startup approval time. And this is something that is very important. Our controllers in the big, busy airports, they know this procedure. They already work with it, so they don't have to change a thing. But imagine you have this in a controlled environment, controlled airspace. They have a procedure to work with it. Maybe we can do it automatically in an uncontrolled environment. So this is something that's quite unique with this, and this is why I like using what we already have. And that will give you a target takeoff time, which is of course quite useful for you as a passenger as well to know when will I take off, when will I start, and actually when will I land at my destination. So in summary, read this summary later on so I don't lose time. But we could update couple of documents. There's 2 good documents from Eurocontrol. One is for smaller airports, that's existing. CDM is quite expensive to implement, but we can do light versions of it. And of course, the main manual could be updated as well. Then I think it would work both for USSPs and ANSPs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kim. So the CDM is to define where someone are at a certain time, and when you are going to leave, and when you are ready, and what happens with the load you have, if it's passenger or if it's goods. And that is so timely for what we are talking about, urban air mobility. Yeah. Of course, we have to refine, and I think there will be a huge automation opportunity for this, to share this information to all the actors. It might be needed in the municipal headquarters or transport or the regional overseeing, or the regulator might need to have some information in order to follow up this. And we need to be, would say, perfect. We have to this perfect predictability with some flexibility, because people's time will be more precious tomorrow, and energy the same. So we have to say that, be just in time, optimize things. And what Valentin told us is part of that, complicated. But we have to do the math, and then we have to program, and then we have to use it. So what's the questions? What's the questions to Kim now? When?
It's like yesterday, nobody asked a question, and then I asked myself a question, so...
Well, I got a question for you. Do you think that Vertiport is kind of an intermediate stage, especially when it comes to rural areas, where you don't want to take your car to a vertiport and then fly from the vertiport to where you're going, but rather having a drone landing in your garden, taking off there, and then that vertiports would only be into cities where you can start and land at any area?
A good question. I think we will have both, actually. I think you will have a vertiport for the few that wants to have it at their place. They don't have to be super costly. We have helipads at home, some of us. I don't have one, by the way. Don't look at me like that. Anyway, but I do think even in rural areas you want to offer public transport. And public transport is quite important. I think on-demand traffic is something that public transport is already using. Stockholm's län is spending huge amount of money on public transport. Östgötatrafiken the same here in this region. And of course, there's a lot of on-demand traffic, anropstrafik we call it. That can be replaced with eVTOLs in the future and create a much, much bigger flexibility within the area. And that's also a way for the municipalities that invest in it to attract these companies to come and create employment for us. So that's it.
So we will continue and bring up these questions after all these presentations, the various perspectives. Or what another thing here?
Hello, Kim. Quick question. PSO traffic is normally from north to south, but with the drone traffic, we can have PSO traffic vertically, from a... So what do you think? Do you think PSO traffic would be more common in the future using drones for public transportation?
Oh, well, I think it should be, because it's much more cost efficient. The infrastructure, building ground infrastructure like rail, it's a big topic in Sweden now. We had a change of government where they don't want to invest in the rail in the same way as before. Ground infrastructure, it's actually quite polluting. The CO2 emissions to build that type of infrastructure is very polluting. The greenest infrastructure you can actually build is air, because you don't need concrete. I tried once, I was told that in Östersund, had concrete, put it in the air, fell on my foot, it hurt. So I mean, it's very painful for the environment and for me if we use concrete in the air. So I think that's why going green, this is the greenest infrastructure we can build. So, and we can reutilize the airports today. We are in a really exciting airport here that is already built, which paid their CO2 emission debt, so to say. So,
we will come back to that and to the infrastructure as such. But now it's very timely to introduce, thank you, Kim. A representative from the municipality, and it's been Norrköping in this place. So you will have a lot of new things on your table, and what are you going to do with it? How are you going to handle all this information?
Yeah, I don't have all the answer on that, I can clearly tell you. But thank you for the invitation to explain a little bit of one of the latest initiatives that we have taken connected to this. And this is the European Digital Innovation Hub with the Focus Aero and Aerospace. But before that, I would like to start at the end, actually, of my presentation, so I don't forget that. Because one thing that I felt yesterday, Saab had a demo day yesterday, drone demo day, and it was the first time that I, let's say, participated in the aerospace context like that. And I felt very, very welcome. And my background has been a lot in the supply chain, in the logistics side, but I haven't been in the aerospace like that I felt yesterday. And I felt very welcome. So I would like to really encourage to start to maybe be the curiosity of talking with anyone within that industry if you are not, and the other say, and also in the other way around. So I just want to say that. And this hub will also support the investment readiness of the organization and companies that will take support from this hub. And why saying that? Yeah, innovation is not always about, let's say, bringing new technology. It's a lot about making it useful and making it implemented in the society. So that is, I wanted to start from the end. But now, start from this beginning then. I am, or not me, but Norrköping Science Park is a very proud coordinator of this European Digital Innovation Hub. And we have not been able to do that without the strong cooperation with our partners in this, Independent Business Group, Linköping University, and RISE. So this has been a strong cooperation that we have been able to receive this to Sweden, Östergötland, and Norrköping. So we're very happy about that. yeah. And also, why this, you can ask? Yeah, I mean, from Norrköping Science Park, being a catalyst for utilization of research, but also with a mission to connect people and organizations, this is really a huge possibility, no doubt. But in other aspects, we have our strong industry here in Östergötland, both in Linköping, but also with the future aviation here in Norrköping. We have a very dedicated industry within those areas, no doubt. We have the logistic hub perspective, where these new applications come into a very interesting place when we're talking about sustainability development of the transport system, etc. So, very easy to understand then why. And what about this Aero European Digital Innovation Hub? We got this very exciting and good information that we were appointed, and that was just before summertime. We will start to run this from beginning next year, and there are a network in this with a little bit more than 200 hubs, innovation hubs, around Europe. And in Sweden, we have 4 of them. So the numbers here you see, that is the number of hubs in the different countries. And in Sweden, we have one in medtech, focusing on medtech, run by the Royal Institute of Technology in Uppsala. And then we have one in smart industry in Eskilstuna, and one more general digital innovation hub in Skåne. And then this Aero, focusing on Aero, our own hub then. And yeah, EU, they have said that they want to push the digital technology and make that as available as possible to as many as possible, and that is the reason that they have this digital program. And of course then to help companies utilize from that in different sectors, as I mentioned before. So this was the take for the Aero EDU, really to focus on the societal and business impact through digital and green transformation of the aerospace related industry. So this was really the take, and one part of that is, of course, the traditional transport system, where there is obvious there are really good possibilities, both energy-wise and efficient-wise, to move from the ground to the air. There are a lot of possibilities that could be both business-wise very good and positive, but also from the environmental side. So that is one part. And then, of course, new applications. Not to forget the rescue authorities. They're very interested in this, but there are also other applications. Yeah. And who can then apply to get support from this hub? It will be about SMEs, it will be about the regional airports, and also different public entities. So those are the key user group. We will run this hub for first of all a period of 3 years, and then with an optional time of 4 years after that. So in total 7 years. Starting beginning next year, as I mentioned before, and we will clarify the exact details of the criteria to get support. But in general, we can say that SME in the European Union, that is maximum of 249 employees. And it should be aero-related, of course, and it should contain any of these different technologies. That is let's say, yeah, a demand, or that is demanded from EU. So AI, high performance computing, cybersecurity, and then we have added 2 additional technologies, special interest for aerospace. Yes, and it will be a program where you can run projects for in these 4 different, let's say, areas. And testing before investing, we believe will be the bigger, or the majority of the projects. And it is as I said before, really to raise the digital maturity and create an investment readiness. So, but also to encourage once again, this can also be a project that is brought together with the aerospace industry, but also with other sectors. Yes. And these are some examples. I think we jumped that. We played a little bit with the thought in the project, and we said that, okay, this is a newspaper headline that we would like to see sometime in the future. That this hub have been recognized to have a great support for the next generation aerospace-related companies. That is something that we would like to see. So, yes. And if there are no questions now, if you have it, I will be glad to answer them. But if not, please take contact with myself, my colleagues, the partners in the project, and most welcome to do so. Yeah, but if
Thank you, Jonas. We do have some comments or connections to this. It's fairly new, maybe to some. You are invited. Kim, speak up.
So, just a question. How many aero-oriented EDIH do you have in Europe? Do you know that? Is it only you?
No, we know that. It's only one more.
Okay,
Toulouse.
Toulouse. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
But please, just to mention also that the other hubs have different focus areas which can be of benefit for companies, and we shall of course connect to them, and it is a very important part of this is to have this international connection.
Yes, and it's about digitalization, and that links together. Yes, air transport is one thing. Other transport means other things, other needs, healthcare and so on. So it's about linking things together to get the data, analyze it and use it to improve for citizens. Wow, so this is a great opportunity. We have to work hard on this.
Yes.
Yes. And you've been such a nice and quiet audience. I'm a little bit surprised. So I would encourage now to some activity. We'll be sitting here for 1 hour now. And we are supposed to be in this room for another hour, basically. So now there is a kind of 7 minutes. You stand up, walk around, and you need to find a new friend. It may be next to you or someone else. Say hello to someone you don't know and present yourself. 7 minutes, starting now. Du kan bara lägga den där och stänga av.
Hej, Peter Norman. Hej, Max. Hej. Jag är med på Gotland. Gotland, jag har varit där några gånger, ja. De har ett sjukhus i Visby med begränsade labbresurser. Så de skickar massor med prover med flygplan och helikopter till Karolinska. Det skulle vara en samhällsnyttig drönare.
Nu måste jag fråga dig en sak. Har inte du och jag pratat om det här tidigare?
Har vi gjort det?
Jag tror det. Ja. För genom Hans Siljerbäcken och sånt så du och jag...
Ja, det kanske jag har gjort.
Ja.
Men det har inte blivit av.
Nej, det har inte blivit av. Eller hur?
Ja, men jag väckte ju idén till det. Ja. För det skulle vara en samhällsgrej. Så liksom, Max Hamburgare är jättekul liksom, men det här skulle vara ett eko liksom.
Ja, jätteintressant.
Ja, och jag vet tekniskt så går det att flyga mellan Visby och Karolinska. Ja. Har jag förstått.
Ja, men det har jag förstått också faktiskt.
Ja.
För vi pratade om det här i Åre, gjorde vi någonstans var vi träffades.
Ja, jag var Arlanda-utredare, kanske i samband med det.
Ja, det kanske var det.
Och nu utreder jag alla flygplatser.
Men hur ska det... Vill du ha mitt kort så kanske vi kan ta en kontakt?
Men jag ska inte göra det här.
Nej, det förstår jag. Nej, men att man kanske kan bara kolla lite idéer och så. Och sen så vem som...
Ja, för jag har alla kontakter i Visby som finns. Alla.
Vi pratade ju... Kim och jag pratade ju igår också.
De kan väl ta emot och göra det på taket? Ja. Men har du ett kort?
Ja, jag har det här. Jag kommer.
Ja.
Det har ju pågått nu under en period uppe i norra Sverige. Så har ju flugits provprover med jättelyckat resultat. Då ska man ju ta med dem i den här loopen för att kolla hur har de gjort för att lyckas med provprover, att de ska ha bibehållen kvalitet.
För det här, jag kan skicka dig ett mejl. Jag skriver 2 rader varandra. Så får du mina kontaktuppgifter.
Så pratar vi. Ja, vad kul. Jättekul. För Gotland, jag tror ju helt klart att det kan ju vara någonting som... Oj. Man skulle rent... Samhällsnyttan skulle ju vara helt fantastisk. Och sen så skulle ju också få en väldigt fin uppmärksamhet.
Mycket.
Ja.
Det är tanken.
Ja, men vad roligt. Ja, jätteskoj.
Jag hör av mig.
Ja, tack.
All passengers to the arrival hall, please take your seat. Yes. Flight modes. Ja, det är Anders. Ta den. Please take your seat. We have a very interesting announcement to make very soon. As soon as you have taken your seat, we'll do an announcement. Groundbreaking. Groundbreaking announcement soon. Please take your seat. Svante. Please take your seat. Oh. Thank you for coming back. Before we start with other presentations, we have an announcement to be made by Mr. Roger Lee, head of UTM Lfv. Roger.
Thank you very much. So this is a 60-second bonus item in the agenda. First of all, I have only been involved to a very small part in this event, so I would like to give all my credits to the team with Billy and all the other good people in the room. What I would like to say, and listen very carefully, I will say this only once, is that on Friday there will be a publication on ted.europa.eu for a call for competition where LFV aims to establish a UAS traffic management solution or a U-Space and common information service solutions. So to all you vendors in the room, all those of you who know vendors, please keep your eyes open from Friday and onwards on ted.europa.eu. And I'm sure we will make something beautiful out of that as well, as we will hear today, Billy. Wow. Thank you.
A huge step for LFV, and I'm glad to invite the next presenter here. The airports are super important, and the airports look like this today for a small regional airport. How they look tomorrow? It's very interesting to hear that. The pink one.
What was the other place? Toulouse, was it? We're here to win.
Close to the mouth.
Oh, you mean like that? How do I dial this thing, huh? All right.
There you go.
Welcome to Norrköping Airport. We've been servicing this area here for some 88 years, and we'll be expecting to do that for another 88 years, hopefully. And to do that, you need to overcome and adapt for those who've made military service. We're proud to be home of the EDIH, don't laugh. The Eddie Aero 23 to 26, 3 million euros. Fantastic. in cooperation with Norrköping Science Park, Independent Business Group, Linköping University Research Institute of Sweden. And we would like then to take the opportunity to lead the way into the next generation of aviation, and also to create this vital hub for innovation and active support to startups. And we would like then to have, of course, people moving into this city. Today we'll see an example, hopefully, with an autonomous verti-drone cargo operation. And of course, that is very important. E-commerce with drones has great potential. We all know that, for this city as well. We have calculated for some potential earnings between 23 and 27, between 3,400 and 12,900 crowns, depending on how you look at it. And we'll just have this process today. The central storage for e-commerce is today in Linköping. And I guess one of our politicians may be here, the guy from Trondheim, maybe. You ordered something there, didn't you? Huh? Yeah. So we're preparing your merchandise there. And so it will be picked up by this drone of Katas, and it will take us over here, and it will land here on our doorstep. That is autonomous verti-drone cargo operations with nuts and bolts. We have another dimension to this at this airport. We have a term sheet with a company called Dronamics that you might have heard of. It's also a drone, however, it is remotely operated. The scope of Dronamics is same-day delivery all over Europe. That is some scope. Let's say there is a lady there creating, or rather growing carrots or something out there in Arkösund, and there is some cousin of hers having a restaurant in Barcelona. Well, she could have a Katla drone pick up her carrots, bring them here, and autonomously maybe unloading and unloading, and the carrots will be on the table same evening in Barcelona. Science fiction, huh? No. Another step is what we've been talking about, and this idea I got from Kim, or we have been discussing it, I don't know exactly where it came up, but the 15-minute city, people movers. It'll just change the infrastructure forever. Another Flash Gordon thing, huh? We can just summon an air drone, and all of a sudden I go from where's it that you live? Yeah, over there on the other side of the bay, and I'll be at work in 5 minutes. No emissions, nothing, not even noise. To do this, to adapt and to overcome, this is the airport. Can you see the picture? I just want to depict some highlights here, what our ambition to adapt into the future is. For one, energy. These are solar panels. We expect to build solar panels here, or rather we hope we're doing. We hope the politicians have the courage to make the decision for it. And the scope is then to build some 40 hectares. Well, solar panels, just like wind, has a problem. It's not plannable, huh? So we need to have storage. Number two. Storage comes in many models. You can have batteries. Batteries lose potential. You need to have seasonal storage. It could be hydrogen, electrofuel, flow batteries, last thing I heard of. And so we jump from 2 to 4. Here's a hydrogen plant. Maybe it could be an electrofuel plant. The number 3 is the rescue unit. All airports has one. We come to number 5, the logistics hub. Our carrots will be taken there and then taken away from there to Barcelona, and maybe the pizza will come from Barcelona as well to Arkösund, the other way. And then number 7 is quite interesting, the connection to the grid, these power lines. The name of the game with the new energy to supply for drones, of course, but for all kinds of things, given the fact that we have a war on our doorstep, we need to get sustainability. And so having power stored is the name of the game. We could probably, if we're good at this, we could store energy enough to run blue light activities, maybe a hospital for, let's say, 10 days, 20 days or so. A contract saying that we have at all times enough energy to drive this in case there would be a cutoff. So we'll have local produced, local consumed electricity. And of course, number 8, funneling all these good ideas would be a center of excellence, Kompetenscentrum, where all these good people, all these good companies come there, see each other, meet each other, get good ideas, develop them, and our job being in an airport will be to facilitate and help that happen. That's the future airport. So that's what we're trying to do. To raise the international perspective on solar power, I just wanted to show you the numbers that we have some 2,000 precision airports in Europe. If there would be 50 hectares available on each one of those, it would be 100 hectares of power, electric power plants. Resilience, that would be good for us all. Huh? And the key is to get past the legislation how to build a solar power station inside of the fence of an airport. And I believe we have solved that key. Otherwise, second to the Vatican, it's almost impossible to build structures inside the fence of an airport. So if you look at this picture, you kind of get the whole idea. We have a solar park producing, we store, we can buy some cheap electrons at night, store them. We estimate 40 hectares would be 40 gigawatt hours per year. And Norrköping Airport will use less than 5% of that to drive ourselves. We'll be definitely energy positive. The remaining may be used for other purposes. That would be an equivalent of 1,500 homes' annual consumption of electricity. And in monetary terms, that would be 2.5 approximately million euros with last year's average price. So we would supply backup or balanced power for the society. We can charge, quick charge aircraft. The ES-30, which is called now, it needs 2 megawatts in 30 minutes. Not many airports can supply that. So you need to have that stored, otherwise nothing will happen in Norrköping. And then, of course, charge cars and trucks and so forth. Strategic readiness. I just made this slide to highlight the situation. It's tragic as it is. But it will create resilience. And I think the horizontal expansion of the airport into society when it comes to services and the role is the name of the game for an airport to stay in business for another 88 years. So our goals then, to maintain services for traditional operators, providing fossil-free fuels, that would be electro-fuel. You can use combustion engines, and you will not add CO2 particles. You will reuse the ones that we already have in the air. We can add, or we would like then to add ground infrastructure for drones to charge electric airliners and general aviation aircraft. To become that hub for research and development, new applications in aviation, and create this center of excellence to attract startups and people to move in. And this solar power farm of ours then to store and deliver plannable energy to make the airport energy positive, quick charging electric aircraft delivering to the grid. In short, that's our idea of being an airport in the future. So our CEO here concluded one discussion. I'm citing by bringing on the challenge to become a multimodal center of transport, the airport could become a destination by itself. Well, you're all here now, aren't you? Considering our unique position, we have a potential to become an economical powerhouse and contribute to the growth of the city and the region. How hard could it be, huh? Questions? It's all clear.
Comments? Come on, we will not do this every Thursday. I can say that.
Okay, well, let's do it then, huh? All right, Mr. Yes.
Hi. Just a brief question on putting solar panels close to the runways.
Yeah.
I'm thinking safety, runway excursions. The most dangerous part of flights is actually the runways. I assume you have considered that, and what
Yes.
limitation does it put?
I've flown airplanes for over 30 years, so I know exactly what you're talking about. So we've been through what you call in Swedish kravkvittenslistan, demand list. And it takes in considerations physical obstacles, closeness to runways, to taxiways, for snow clearing, for all kinds of things, and also electromagnetic compatibility and interference. So we have safety zones that have been cut off and out. And so we end up having between 40 and 66 hectares available, depending on layout on this particular airport. And that's why it's so dangerous. I mean, that's why it's so hard to build with inside airports. So exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And by the way, I think this is the best presentation I've seen on initiatives on the airport.
Well,
for
humbly say
future
thank you.
technology.
Yeah. Well, talk to my boss.
Yeah. Thank you, Svante.
All right.
Thank you, Jesper, for running around with the microphone. It's very appreciated. So, no, there were enough with this. So I think, to me, it's obvious that an airport like this should be an asset to the region, and should be developed. And really, if you hear on these things you see here, such an opportunity to live as we speak. Okay, here we go. We have heard things from a small airport. Now we have a much bigger airport with a lot of structure and infrastructure in place, but you're in for a lot of changes and development, John. Please.
Yes, we are, and it's hard to come after Svante. He basically took all the points we're going to talk about, so thanks for me and goodbye. No, but it's actually very interesting to see that Norrköping and Swedavia have the same ideas when it comes to the future of the airport, so that's actually comforting to be able to have the same vision. My name is John Nilsson. I work at Swedavia. For you who don't know what Swedavia is, we have 10 airports in Sweden that we run and operate, from Kiruna to Malmö, and Stockholm Arlanda is our biggest airport. And my role is to try to form the strategies when it comes to electric aviation and hydrogen aviation on airports, and how to deal with that on airports. So a lot of my presentation will unfortunately be a repeat of Svante's presentation, but I hope you will bear with me anyhow. Hur ska jag klicka på? So, yeah. But I'd like to start first with a broader perspective, what we're doing on our airports before I dwell into the airports of the future, and how we're also adapting our airports for a fossil-free airport of the future. So I would like to start with some of our important strategic goals that we have. We have one that is very major, is the seamless intermodality. It has to be easy to travel in the future. Kim was into it when it comes to the mobility hubs of the city. It has to be also easy to travel to the airport and then to travel further on from the airport. So we would like to work with those new technologies that we have, the new innovations that we have, and try to incorporate them in our airports. And the new modes of travel, eVTOL, for example, and intermodality. It must be seamless to change from one mode of transport to the other. But also has to be fossil-free, so efficient intermodality, intermodal connection with the airport. Airports should be a multimodal hub. Sustainable aviation, fuel, obviously, electrofuels, electricity. And our infrastructure on the airport has to be prepared for the future. We have to be ready when it arrives. So that is one of our main strategies in the future. And obviously, as you can see in that circle, that the customer is our focus. We live for the customer, we build for the customer, and without the customers, we're nothing. When it comes to our airports, we had a very, very hard goal that we set in 2010 to be fossil-free from our own operations on all our 10 airports. And we reached that in 2020 for all 10 airports, and I think we're the first airports in the world to reach that. So we're pretty proud about that. And at the same time, we also went for the airport certification, airport carbon accreditation, AK4+. And we have Arlanda Airport that is 4+ now, Gothenburg as well, I think, and all 10 airports, we expect them to reach that at the latest in 2025. And we're going to keep on working with our stakeholders to also eliminate all other types of fossil emissions on the airports in the future. And that goes in line with the goals from the aviation sector as a whole in Sweden. We want to have 5% biofuels or fossil renewable jet fuels in their fleet in 2025. We have targets already for 2021, 2019, 2022. As you can see, the target was 0.5%. We almost reached it in 2022, and I can't remember the target for 2023, but I'm sure if you ask me later, I'll figure it out. But 5% for 2025, that's a lot, but we're hopeful that we're going to reach it. In 2030, we want to have all domestic aviation fossil-free, and 2045, all airlines starting in Sweden should be fossil-free. And that's a shared goal by the whole Swedish aviation industry. What are we doing at Swedavia to try to help push that? We have a joint procurement of sustainable fuel. We have 6 nationwide organizations that are working with us and actively partaking in that. We have incentives for airlines. We pay 50% of the cost of the fuel, extra charge of the fuel, for them to refuel fossil-free fuel. But it has to be on the Swedavia airports. And there's some criteria they have to meet in order to do that. We also have, since not many months ago, I think, different starting fees depending on the environmental impact of the aircraft. So it's a bonus-malus system, a bit like for the car industry right now in Europe, in certain countries. And of course, as we hear today, electric aviation. And not only eVTOLs, but also conventional takeoff and landing electric aviation. So where we're trying to map and we're trying to develop the future infrastructure on airports. And also we're actively partaking in many projects when it comes to trying to understand, try to adapt the airports, also ask the correct questions from an airport perspective. How can we adapt our airports for the future? So now, before I go into how I want to plan an airport of the future, it's a little bit of how we work on sort of eVTOL, because we're airports and we focus mostly on air side, but eVTOL is going to also come to the airports, so we're also focusing on that. And we believe it's going to be a part of the mobility of the future, and it's going to allow the seamless transport that we were talking about. And it's going to complete existing transport solutions. Kim, you talked about it's difficult to build a railroad everywhere, and we believe that the railroad plays a role, but for those connections that don't have a railroad, well, we see eVTOLs as a solution. And it's also broadened the choice of fossil-free travel possibilities. So now, hopefully you'll bear with me, because this is a repeat. I'm just planning on trying to do the airport of the future. I'm a master planner at heart, so the picture I'm going to show you has nothing to do with a master plan. So please don't build your airport as this vision. We're also going to have a lot of problems. But we can start with a traditional airport. We have the pier, we have the terminal, we have our traditional airplanes parked at the airports. But we need to add layers to that to start to understand the airport of the future. So we can start with the electric aviation. We want to have them close to the terminal. We want to have it as seamless transport. And of course, we want to have fast charging as well on the airport. So that's one parameter. But not only that, we also have general aviation on some of our airports, on most of our airports. And they will be electric probably in the future. So we have to take that into consideration and place them somewhere also on the airports. But we want to have a fossil-free fleet for all our airplanes. So we'll have sustainable aviation fuel, with a storage facility on the airport and refueling either by pipeline on the bigger airports or by trucks. But not only that, we also see a future with hydrogen. So there will be some of the airplanes will have to refuel with hydrogen. So we'll have to have an on-site hydrogen storage facility and hydrogen refueling. Probably not in pipeline unless it's gaseous. And even then, it's quite complicated. So we'll probably have it by trucks. But we also have a part of the airport that is not on the air side. We have also a land side on the airport. And for our major airports like Arlanda or Gothenburg, we have conference centers, we have other facilities, hotels, and etc. So in order to facilitate the transport between that and the city for the conference, but also to be able to use the future possibilities, we're planning maybe an eVTOL vertiport somewhere on the airport, and it has to be consideration between so many different aspects of the airports. Where should it be? Close to the terminal, but is there something else in the way? Will it work with air traffic management, etc.? So those are very complicated considerations to take into account, but also the market. What does the market want? Do you want to be far away, or do you want to be in easy access to the terminal or to the conference center, for example? And that whole package is the multimodal hub that we're trying to build at the airport with all the different types of transportation. And now that's where I come into Svante's presentation. Obviously, we need electricity to the airport, so we have electricity into the airport. But we expect also to be maybe not self-sufficient in the first while, but at least produce some of electricity, and then in the future be self-sufficient and produce more than enough electricity. So we'll have on-site renewable electricity that we can use with solar panels on the buildings or on the fields, or even wind turbines somewhere on the field for our largest airports. We have a lot of area. That could also produce on-site hydrogen for the future, so we can produce our own hydrogen or maybe electrojet in the future and sell it onwards. And that will work with electricity storage on the airport to have this buffered when we have those high peaks, peak shaving, or frequency modulation when it comes to the net electricity grid as a whole. So I think that is my general idea of the airport of the future. There's a lot of questions still to be solved. There's a lot of issues probably, but I wanted to show you, paint a very positive image of how we can work for the airports of the future. And I'm happy to be a part of it and happy to continue working alongside with all of you on those ideas. So, any questions? Kim. Det vet jag inte.
Jesper went away. All right. So, did you talk to Svante before this
No,
presentation?
we didn't. And I was listening to Svante.
Svante, you have copyright issues. I think that's.
I'll blame Billy. I could have been first in the program. Then Svante would have had a copyright issue.
Now, when you look at the eVTOLs, do you see the first phase of introducing these is going to be landside primarily, or?
It depends on what the market wants, but also depends on how easy it is to put on the air side. There's different considerations to take into account. Are the passengers screened when they arrive on the air side? Should it be done at the eVTOL starting point? And that might be complicated to have that screening process done on all the different eVTOL launch pads all over the place. So probably in the beginning it will be easier to have it on land side and also the other ATM operations, etc.
Yep. Thank you.
Oh, that's about the airport. So I think there is another. No, there is no one. All right, we have a quite fine. Thank you, John. So we have things coming in here. We have hot news, we have announcements, and so on. And now there is time for next hot news. Jesper from A2M, please.
Yes, hello. My name is Jesper Lowe. I'm the CEO of A2M company, a part of the IBG group that runs this project under LFV and together with LEU. I'm proud to stand here today to actually deliver some news. We just had a go, no-go meeting for the flight, and you can see it at my smile that I'm pretty hopeful. We have some strong winds, and it always is the pilot that takes the final decision if we do the flight or not. We have a go. Yes. However, we are starting off in Linköping, and it's heavy winds in Linköping. It's a bit less wind here, but in order to take off in the right time, we might be needed to take off a little bit early. So the calculation is to take off 3 o'clock in 5 minutes. Yeah. So it was planned for 3:30. So the fika, the Swedish fika, we all need that. But maybe we can include that to follow the flights. And we will plug in also the computer so you can follow it visually. And I think Marcus and his team from Colbert & Carlson also has people on site. So we have it on the screen later also to actually see live footage, right? Yeah. And when it lands, Probably it will land faster than 27 minutes because we have tailwind, pretty strong ones. So what do you think, Billy? 15 minutes, something, 20?
Could be 15, 17 minutes.
17 minutes, yeah. We will see. The most important thing is hopefully we can see something fly and that we actually do this demonstration as we have the technique in place. We also have the weather with us, and you can see the sun. We're happy for that, and hopefully the winds calm down a little bit. So that's the news.
That's very good news. And we still have two very interesting presentations, one from the regulator, Christopher, and also from Martin Ranser, the true triple helix perspective. And when the flight is on, you will bring this up on the screens here and everywhere, right? These screens. Okay, then I suggest that we bring in the transport serial now, and you start. And if the flight comes on before you're ending, we break that in. We don't know. We don't know if the flight starts exactly at 3 or 3:05. Yeah, but yeah, maybe afterwards. But it could be very late if we don't know if the flight is really going.
It would be quite interesting to have a presentation during the flight because we will follow a dot.
No.
So we rather follow a good presentation.
How sure are we on the flight start at sharp 3?
I'm looking for Gustav, the CEO of Katla, but pretty sure. As
Okay.
you know, when you fly. How sure are we at the 3 o'clock start exactly, or is it more or less?
Yeah, it's more or less.
Yeah.
Ja, då kör vi inte något mer innan det.
Thank you. Unless the winds grow stronger in the next 5, 10, 15 minutes, we will take off. So, as it looks now, we will take off at 3 o'clock. It's in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But it might, things might happen. This is aviation, right? Safety always goes first. So that, but hopefully we will very, very soon be able to announce that the aircraft is airborne. And if we don't announce it, you also know the reason. And I know that you guys are aviation people and you're innovation people, so that you have a tolerance for uncertainty, right? Excellent. Great.
Thank you, Gustav. Always good with tension. We should bring tension to every event. We have one question. Do we have time for a question?
Yes, we have time for a question because there will be no presentations now.
Oh, that was the answer. All right.
So please put attention. Ja, det är jättebra. Och ni mixar in det, va? HDMI. Ja.
Ska vi ge lite information om under tiden?
So there's live video and live sound. And the technician from Astra UTM are setting it up so we can have an overview over the flight. They've been working on a kind of distance relationship with us. You're based in Dubai and you will present tomorrow, we know that. So you're more than welcome traveling here to be with us. So some 52 kilometers away, they are doing the last checks. The preparation, and the drone is built and manufactured some 100 kilometers from where we are now in Västervik.
Vi står på det här avståndet.
So. Okay, so we have Gustav here, that's the CEO of Katla, and he has some words to comment what we see also, and maybe who is doing what. And it's actually 3 brothers from this region in Östergötland, so we're very proud of them. And Gustav, tell us, what do we see and what will happen now?
Thank you, yeah. Yeah, so Gustav, Magnus and Eric Wiberg from Norrköping are co-founders of Katla. Okay, yeah, sure. So what we've currently seen happening here is the team going through the pre-flight checklist, where you check the different components of the drone, you make sure that everything is connected as it should be. Let's see, is that? Yeah, so they're setting it up, they're going through the checklist. So it's very similar to when you travel by regular aircraft, like the pilot's routine for this drone as well. So that's what's currently happening, and hopefully it will take off shortly.
Someone's coming. On the airport. No.
Now it's going.
Airborne.
Here we go. Speed too fast. They bring up the tracking. Ja. Så nu kommer vi upp på trackingen. Sen måste vi gå ut och ställa oss vid fönstret.
Yeah. So we're airborne, finally, with a good tailwind heading for Norrköping Airport. So we're waiting for the landing, of course, and Billy just suggested we all go out to see the landing, and we also have the coffee and everything in the restaurant. And we will witness the landing from inside by the window, because it's the permit that we got. And after the landing, when the Katla eVTOL is totally without power, we can go outside at airside to watch and experience a little bit more.
Yes. And before we go out and watch the landing, we have a few minutes still, and I'd like to give the opportunity to our Director General, Ann, to say something. You only have a few minutes, Ann. I'm sorry to say, you have a lot to say, but this is an opportunity for you to meet this public.
Thank you very much. Thank you for very good presentation.
Sound.
My name is Ann Persson-Grivas. I'm the Director General of Lfv, and it's an honor for me to be here today because it's a very special day. Today, Lfv is celebrating 75 years as an air navigation service provider. We have been celebrating with cake the whole day in the company, and we hope to invite you to some cake here. But it's also a very special day because we have been in service for 75 years, delivering safe, efficient air navigation service. But at the same time, we are looking into the future. So maybe when we are celebrating 150 years, we will remember that this was the day when we started the drone society and the new society. So I just want to invite you to help us celebrate not only this fantastic experience of the drones, but also to celebrate that we have been in service for 75 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ann. Thank you very much. So I guess you all can manage your own time and your own movement. So the best place to see the landing is either with these windows or the windows in the canteen where we had a lunch. So we suggest that you, yes, when you like, you see the progress here. So you cannot say that you missed the landing. And then we will gather afterwards here to sum up on this, okay, to share some things. But now, let's go to the windows. Oh.
Men... Tack så mycket med senast. Det var en jättetrevlig dag.
Ja. Vi har information om läget, status på flygningen. Kommer från Gustav och mig här. Och som ni ser så har en onormal händelse inträffat. Vad var det som hände, Gustav, och vad gör vi nu?
That's a very good question, Billy. Yeah, so as most of you have seen by now, the drone is not going to land out here in the next few minutes. So what happened was somewhere along the way there was some sort of glitch in the communication with the drone, so that this is a standard procedure when something happens, that we are aborting the mission and we're returning it to home. And there are also emergency landing places or second landing sites, so to say, on the way that the drone can spot out and can touch down at. So we're going to look into exactly what happened and then see if we can take off again and make another go for the airport. But that's the current status, and that's the information I have now. And when I get more information, I will share it with you. Right? Thank you.
Yes, and in the meantime, I recommend cake and coffee.
bandet. Så kommer det bli, nu kommer de här säkert. Jag menar om man är lite aktiv och finns med på ett eller annat sätt att man integrerar sig. Fördelen är då i det lilla kan vi kanske påverka
because you have this for a movie or we can change contact. Do you have? So okay, great. I will mail you. Sohan, yeah, we did. Yeah, Sohan, yeah. Okay. Great. I send to you, and we can have we can follow sequence. Yeah, it would be nice for you to have it in the movie as well. And it's it's a great technical stuff. Yeah, we will be there, and we will film that as well, and we will have it in the movie. Yeah, okay. It was. And you know, yeah, but the thing is, you know, we have this uppdrag. We have this case, you know, from Jesper in IVG to make this event here, live broadcast, and film 2 days for.
Your system is tracking it perfectly. So an update for this room as well. So the flight took off and did a 22 kilometers or something like that, and then it was a problem with the 4G connection. It was lost for 15 seconds, and that means that an automated procedure starts to identify the closest pre-recognized place to land. And that was exactly what the system performed. And now not we, but they are investigating what's the status of the drone and looking at that and see if they can do the safety work and be here in time before the airspace close, or we have to give up the airspace in 45 minutes from now. So in a couple of minutes, 5 or 7 or so, we will start with a couple of more presentations and also a discussion. And then we monitor the situation, what's going on. So they're working on it now, right? Thank you.
cable or anything? Only this? No. Okay. Okay.
Yes. So we have some information and also announcements coming up. We are very dynamic this evening as things develop further. We like to start with two presentations very soon from the Transport Agency and from the Linköping University. And then we have a conversation also about that. In the meantime, we also have the opportunity to announce an opportunity to impact on the future with the drone services. So we'll see where Christina comes up here from Spain, who works in the project with social and environmental impact. Concerning the flight, I hear someone who would like to have attention. Concerning the flight, we hope to have a landing here, but it could take some, yes, I would say before 5. That's what we work for. So they're checking the drone and doing a kind of safety and preparation for that. And we'll see where they go. We will have information during this session. So the drone was happily doing a successful emergency procedure program and expected if an anomaly should happen, what happened with the 4G connection. So no one hurted so far and no problem so far. And we have two very interesting presentations we are waiting for now. And then we will keep you informed and put you on the screen when that is necessary. So we start with the Transport Agency. Mr. Christopher Massinger has been following a lot of this project also and coaching and giving advices on both directions. So please, Christopher, here's your slides. You bring it up, Anders. Where you go?
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting the regulators to this event.
You were first on the list.
First on the list. Thank you very much. My name is Christopher Massinger. I work at the Section for Airspace and Aerodrome at the agency. Again, thank you very much for having us. It's very nice to see that the regulators are not the ones who are the showstoppers for today. The 4G cover is to blame for today, right? All right, so I'd like to introduce a little bit of our role in this project. We are responsible for the permits and the rules and the oversight activities within the aviation domain, and since a couple of years ago, also within the UAS and the 947 regulation that became applicable for nearly 2 years ago. We have some numbers that we'd like to share to you. Since the regulation was applicable, we have approximately 33,000 registered drone operators. We have 29,000 drone licenses issued, approximately 100 applications within the specific category, and only 15 permits as right now for the specific category, excluded from cross borders. And we did a survey in 2019 where we estimated that we have around 400,000 to 600,000 different drones in Sweden. So it's a bit of a challenge for us to bring this new domain up to speed and follow the rules and take the licenses as they have to, which is a bit of a shame. So, and we were introduced to these objectives with the course XUM in Q4 in 2021. We were invited by LFV and IBG and of course the Linköping University. And all of this time we have been coordinating the rules and coordinating the applications. The applications were initiated by LFV, IBG and Katla in February 2022. Decisions and permits were issued only a couple of weeks ago. So it took us quite some time to get this going. And that's because of the case management and handling at our agency. And to create a complete SOAR application, which is not really a straight line, it's often time critical. The UAS operator has to conduct a complete SOAR analysis, which includes 10 different stages. You have to take into account all the different types of risks, from ground risk to airspace risk, and you have to perform and show all of the mitigations, then describe them and demonstrate them and convince the agency to actually be able to perform these types of operations. And also for these types of operation, we also had to have a restricted airspace for this to be happen safely. And this application form takes us about 8 to 12 weeks at the agency to handle. And that is because we have a lot of coordination with the affected stakeholders, the military, the ATC, the police, ambulance and Coast Guard, all of those relevant stakeholders has to be addressed for this to happen. And also all of the other legislations and regulations that we had to consider before these types of operations. So there's a lot of work behind this demonstration today, a lot of work behind from the US operator Katla, a lot of work from LFV, from IBG, and also the municipalities, and of course the Linköping University. And it all starts with the US operator to actually perform these risk analysis within the SORA. And they have to do numerous iterations and demonstrate these safety criteria as to how they meet the safety criteria, and also how they mitigate the risks in these types of operations. So for this specific operations, we issued 2 permits, one for the operational declarations and one for the airspace. And it's, I cannot emphasize the amount of work that is being put into these types of demonstration permits. It's extensive work behind these types of operations to ensure both the segregations and the security, and that's why we need the new rules of the air, specific and technical regulations and standards for this to be happen more widely and spread in the future as well. And as you all know, we have gotten 3 new types of regulations within the framework of U-Space. We have the 664 regulation, which is applicable from the January 26 to 2023. We have the amending regulation 665 for the 373 regulation with enhance to U-Space's airspace and control airspace. We have the 666 amending regulation to SERA, the Standard European Rules of the Air, which emphasizes the requirements for manned aircraft to actually operate in the U-Space airspace, and that they have to be electronically conspicuous. So, some news. In June 2022, the Swedish Transport Agency was declared as the competent authority for the U-Space regulation, except from Article 5.6 in the cover regulation. That emphasizes that the member states can, if they want to, declare a single information service provider. That mandate is still at government level, and to this date we have not received any decision on which road to start walking, if we want to have a distributed version or if we want to have a singular version. And this picture we can jump from. And I got a very good question last week from Eurocontrol. They asked why hasn't Sweden yet decided on which structure the Swedish CISP role should be. And I answer, which I want to share to you today as well. The Swedish Transport Agency, together with LFV and with the military stakeholders, we conducted a study already 2019 on the unmanned aircraft and BVLOS operations and the implementation of U-Space airspace. And the results and suggestion from that study is that the CISP function should be a national function owned and operated by the state with regards to Swedish total defense objectives. So that is our official statement in the question of a single information service provider or distributed ones. Since then, there's been numerous assignments by the government, especially to LFV. LFV got last year, they've been tasked to review the lower airspace with regards to unmanned aircrafts, and also to establish systems and services for unmanned aircraft within the framework of U-Space. And for that, LFV has also facilitated this work within the Sweden U-Space project, and coordination is being currently held with us at the Transport Agency and other authorities, including the military, which is very good. But we have to remember that we are pretty early in the stages of the U-Space implementation phases. We have 4 different milestones, and we are currently between U1 and U2. We are moving towards U2, but it will take some time. To this date, we have deployed some different test areas for different specific reasons. Mostly it has been scientific project. It has been demonstration with the larger drones that wants to transport food, medicine, blood samples, COVID tests, etc. And all of these operations have been facilitated with danger areas or restricted areas. They are all been BVLOS operations. And what we've seen from these types of errands is that it is an extensive coordination with stakeholders that takes a lot of time, which is time consuming. It's very unfortunate. And for all of these specific test areas, we have set specific conditions and constraints for local areas, for each areas. And that is because some areas do heavy workload for UAS operators, and other areas are becoming heavy workload for the ATC units that has to manage the traffic around it. And this is, of course, not feasible in the long term. This is why we need a use space. But as Eurocontrol has also demonstrated for us with these great pictures, there are still a lot of aspects and subjects within the use space framework and concept that still needs regulations. And this is something that we need. We need the standards in order for actually being able to implement this in a safe and a secure way. And if we look to EASA's vision, this is the EASA roadmap to urban air mobility. EASA published late last year an NPA 2021-14 with proposed AMC and guidance materials for use-based regulation. That NPA resulted in 2,600 comments from the member states. Hopefully, we will have some decision from EASA later quarter this year. Some challenges. This list is not exhaustive. There are still technical standards that are missing to facilitate these types of operations in the future, especially when it comes to detect and avoid. We saw a demonstration yesterday at Linköping Airport. Very interesting. Hopefully we can have a standard on that type of system and services later on. The implementation requires coordination on both national, regional, and local level, which is also a strong challenge for us. We see that the maturity of level of knowledge is pretty widespread over the entire Swedish space. And also use space shall be financed by the end users and integrated into current ATM structure. So hopefully we will also have some funding from our politicians. And this point is actually not true. No CISP, no USSP. Mr. Roger Lee, where are you? There you are. You just announced that LFV wants to establish use-based servers, maybe. So I have to scratch this line then, I think. Or UTM service, right? Okay. So no use-based. We will probably have some use-based then. Perfect. In September 2022, EASA established also a use-based certification task force. And their job is to develop new AMC and guidance material and best practices for member states to actually be able to certify these service providers in the future. So hopefully they can provide us with some more information already this year with the decision on the upcoming applicable means of compliance and guidance material. We have to remember the regulation is applicable already in January next year. And also some sad news. UK, a standard organization, they declared a couple of weeks ago that the already implemented standard for ED269 for geographical US zones in EU space is not working exactly as was anticipated, which is unfortunate, and a new standard is being developed, and hopefully somewhere next year, if I don't remember correctly, May next year, we have hopefully a new standard in place that has been implemented in the regulation. So what is our role in the use space? Of course, we have to establish national legislation for use space. It has been initiated, it's ongoing. I cannot say anything about the content right now, nor when it will be applicable, but hopefully we will have some more information about that in a couple of weeks once we publish it on our webpage. We also have to certify the USSPs, and if Sweden decides to promote for a single information service provider, we will also have to be able to certify that one. We will declare and establish use-based airspaces where it's need to. We will not declare use-based airspaces in the whole Swedish flight information region. And of course, also after a couple of years of operation, we also have to conduct our inspections with the risk-based oversight programs for all of these service providers that are working together in the use space. So we have established a team at Transportstyrelsen where we will look at the strategy for the implementation of the current regulations. And that one is being, our project leader for this project is Ms. Jenny Blomberg, and with Senior Advisor Remy Vevre, whom you may know who it is from the 947 regulation. As you can see from the picture also there, There are a lot of subjects that is being facilitated by different sections at the agency. Our section, Airspace and Airdrome, we're responsible for the U-Space airspace, the certification process, vertiports, geographical UAS zones, and also the national regulation for the U-Space. So this is the team. We had, our ambition was to also provide you with a timetable for the implementation today. Fortunately, we are not able to do so, so we will have to come back on that a little bit later on. But one thing that we want to say is be prepared for U-Space. Coordination is the key element for this actually to happen. And Kim, you told us earlier before about the collaborative decision making. This is a very large part of the coordination process. So preparation is the key element if we want to save money, because time is money. And we are also responsible to establish the coordination mechanism according to Article 18F. The coordination mechanism is described as a guidance material for the use-based regulations, and I can really emphasize, if you want to know more about the process, you should definitely read this. And also keep in mind that this is only a guidance material, it's not binding. Sweden will follow the best practices from reference scenarios for this type of activity. So, as a last slide, I just want to put up some contact information if you have any specific question regarding specific subjects. These are the resources that are currently working with the use-based implementation from different sort of aspects. So, that was me. Thank you.
We keep you. Yes, first we will have an announcement, but first we will have a couple of questions here. Pasi, you have the microphone? No, I do it myself. Pasi, our friend from Finland.
Thank you very much. One question on the drone registrations. Do you take any fees from the drone operators on the registration?
Yes, we do. I think we charge around 13, 15 euros, but from next year we will also raise the fees for these types of registrations.
Did you say, sorry, 15?
1.3 or 1.5, something. I don't know exact the number.
All right, thanks.
Were there other comments and questions to Christopher? Yeah, Kim, you always.
Yeah, well, this is maybe a leading question. How will you handle when all the municipalities is planning to build their use space and do the planning for in 3 dimensions? How are you expecting to man up for that massive amount of requests that you will get for that?
Thank you for the question. I guess that is a question for our leadership, who sets the budgets and employs the resources to be able to do all of this work in the future. So I cannot answer that, I'm sorry for it. Or maybe we should ask the politicians. We need some funding for this, definitely.
And some parts of this work, we also work to get it kind of means of compliance or automated, or the learning that we can have predefined or reuse these kind of case in an absolutely objective, proved way, of course, to support the overall decision process, to make this process running smoother,
Yep.
and with less people. And you could be a manager.
You have to say it to my boss.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, so that was from Christopher. He will be with us tomorrow. Yes, so please poke him with questions and ideas. Thank you, Christopher. And we also have an announcement here. As we are in a European project, we try to be European and use the resources we have in Europe. And here is Christina. And she's fantastic because she cares really for the impact in society and environmental of the new technology, in particular the urban air mobility. So Christina, what do you like us to do?
Yes, hello everyone. As so kindly Billy has introduced me, I work with the Chorus Schwann project. I have been working before also in the Chorus project, and in both projects I have been in charge of this social acceptance topic. It's important, so we need that technology to work, and we are working on that part also. but we understand that only if there is business behind that, there is interest, potential clients, and there is no annoyance for the citizens that will enjoy or not of these new vehicles. We will have really a reality to have gone on with the urban air mobility. So I have, I'm sorry, I have not prepared slides, but I will put some of these QRs around, and if not, you will find me around. And just with the phone, you can capture the image, and then you get a link to a survey. And this survey is the way we have in the project to collect, which is the opinion of the stakeholders. We are not conducting surveys in the population. There are plenty of them. EASA, in fact, did one very recently. So we read what surveys say about citizens, but now you are more experts. You are giving the opinion from a point of view of safety, if you are an ASP or if you are a pilot, for instance, or you are giving the opinion on economy, if you are a drone operator or you are working on a USSP, or you just are citizen, politicians, and then you have a kind of a political opinion. And you will find that with these questionnaires, the first thing it's asking is the profile, and once you have the profile, you have the actual questions that are 3, 4, 5, depending on the profile, not many, so it's very fast. It's faster to respond than what I am taking to explain it. So please, do it if you can, if you want to collaborate with us, we will appreciate very much. Thank you.
So this is your chance to impact on the future. I really encourage you to take these chances in general, and in particular in this area, so we build a better future. And then we come to the last presentation round, and that is really connecting to everyone here. So please, Martin.
So it's kind of a challenge in one respect that I'm kind of a gap filler while they're fixing the drone, and hopefully there will be an announcement, stop talking, and then we'll get on the drone track again.
Martin, sorry, I forgot one thing. Kolberg Karlsson, you are perfect in doing this.
Yes.
Just remind to the YouTubers out there looking at YouTube, which could be 80, 90 or even more, that we're waiting for another landing, and now we are finishing these presentations here, and thank you for the patience out there.
So, my name is Martin Renser. I'm the head of the Department for Science and Technology at Linköping University. And while I was preparing for this presentation, I actually discovered that I've been working with triple helix and research support 30 years. I started in '92 and I've been at it since. Now I'm at the Linköping University. Before that, I was at the RISE, the Swedish Institute for Research. At Saab, I was at the Swedish Defense Research Agency, and before that, Ericsson Research. So I've been a hang-around for research all these years, and now I get to share some of my experience when it comes to triple helix. So, in its simplest forms, are we running out of batteries on this microphone, or is it okay?
It's okay.
Oh, good. So in its simplest form, triple helix is the support of a government that's use resources and regulations in order to support both the universities and research institutes and also the industry and the public sector. So the usual case is that there's a research project with particular goals, finance from the government, both to the universities and the participating industries. And there are several very successful examples of this in Sweden. Ericsson, for example, has been one of the results of the triple helix. They actually had a common company with the Swedish phone operator called LMTEL, and that was partly financed with government resources and with a specific goal of creating good and functioning mobile system, and that kind of build the Ericsson way of doing things. And Saab is also kind of a result of a triple helix, working with the Swedish Defense Procurement Agency and then Saab as an industry supplier. So at a large scale, this is something that has proven to be very successful in Sweden. But can you do it on a smaller scale? Well, this is the simple way of describing it, but there's always more detail, and the devil is often in the details as well. So this is an example to kind of fill out a little bit of the gaps around this. So basically, research financiers such as Vinnova and the European Union finance the research and the innovation, the early parts of the step, with the Linköping University and RISE as examples of actors within the research and innovation part. And then when it comes to innovation, taking the basic research results and then preparing them for commercialization, we have also other actors like LEAD, for example, that are schooling our entrepreneurs so they can take research results and turn them into small or medium enterprises and have them move on in the circle. We have also Norrköping Science Park that was presented earlier here, and the European Digital Innovation Hub is one example where we have European funding in order to create new small and medium-sized enterprises. And then we come to the final step, the commercial market as well. And here we have collaborations with LFV, for example, which are part both of the innovation circle and the commercial market. And we have EBG and we have Saab. So this was something that was very present yesterday during that presentation, that Saab is one of the best companies when it comes to picking up new ideas and then integrating in their product and their product cycles. But one example that I would like to dig into a little bit more in detail is the long-term collaboration that we have between LFV and LIU and also Saab as one of the commercializers. And this is usually financed by the traffic authorities and Vinnova and the part of the European Union. And here we have many, many examples of very, very different areas, all from cybersecurity to visualization to optimization of traffic routes and everything. And this over time has led to that we have very many pieces of a puzzle, and that the researchers learn the domain and that the domain experts learn what is possible with researchers. So, as I usually say, we researchers, we love problems. Come to us with your problems, and we will find a methodology, a way of trying to find solutions to these problems. So, we are kind of the rocket fuel in order to have new ideas to old problems. But how can we then make this work? This is kind of the experience from many, many years. That what is most important is that the goals of all the actors has to align. And my first boss at Ericsson Research, he was named Håkan Eriksson appropriately, he said that having 50% financing for a research project or a collaboration project that is in line with our business goals, that is a good business. But having 50% of financing for something that's not aligned with our business, that's something we should stay away with. So you need really to, when you are in these kind of research collaboration and financing, you need to have that aligned with your business goals and the goal of the researchers as well. So having those benefits is something that's a key driver. But then you also need to create clusters of partners in different projects. So that's something I believe we have been very successful here in Östergötland or East Sweden region, that there are lots of partners that are going in and out of different research projects. So when we're starting up a new project, there's also always a calling list when to find the partners of going into this. And that is also the key benefit of having the innovation staying in the region as well. So it becomes something that explores and also develops the region in a good way. And the long collaboration with LFV has also supported us in having many projects that has been run over a long time, because research is something that takes time. And the commercialization of research is usually of a finding that is perhaps 5 or 10 years back. So there needs to be a timeline where we can use and reuse the different research results. And the visualization table and the work that Professor Jonas Lundberg has done and is on display down there is such an example that has been developed with LFV and then later used in the Wallenberg AI project, WASP, and now being used in the collaboration with Saab when it comes to digitalization. So that allows us to build and grow on a platform, and a platform that we can continue both to do research on and also commercialize. So that is an example of an open platform with good visualization, a way of showing what the research is about. This is an example also of reoccurring demonstrations, and that is very important when it comes to achieving buy-in from agency management or business management as well, political level as well. So you need to show the results of research and having kind of a deadline for showing off things as well. So that's very important in many respects. And the final thing I already touched on is that doing research together, you develop a domain competence, and that competence is important for the researchers, but also the other parts of the projects. And then the final result is application in new business areas, because that is kind of the ultimate goal, that we either should start new companies or provide the development of existing companies with new research. So, what's the next step then? Well, as presented before, I do believe it's the Aero European Digital Innovation Hub. It will be something that will have funding, will have attention, and will provide a process of applying the experience and the results we have within the drone domain and the domain of future air traffic. So that will be a framework for 3 or 7 years, depending on the continued financing for work within this area. So with that, I open for questions.
Thank you, Martin. I guess we have a lot of comments here. Yeah, we give him applause. Yeah, do that. So it's clear that we need this triple helix collaboration, of course, to make things happen, to make the change. So who starts the conversation? Who like to start? Radar, what do you think about this? Can we increase the collaboration even more?
Hi, my name is Radar. I'm a politician and head of planning for society in Norrköping. Welcome to Norrköping to everybody who is not from Norrköping, from other countries, and even from Linköping. You're welcome here. And we are very happy to have this guy on stage. He's helping us a lot. Wherever we put him, he's doing a fantastic job. He's the best ambassador of Norrköping we ever had at the university. And we will use it, sitting here with Anna, who is the head of our community for the staff. We already started to look into planning our Norrköping of tomorrow. For years we've been looking at what we call översiktsplan, how we use our ground and how we use our water. Now we will change it. Now we will also have to start to make the streets in the sky. And that's something very, very exciting for us. And we are also very happy that we're getting EU money for doing this in Norrköping. We are not the biggest city in Europe, perhaps one of the best. And we like then to be in front of everything which is positive and exciting and happening in Europe. We believe it should happen in Norrköping. So please help us, and very welcome, and thank you very much to all of you for coming here today. And I hope that someone up there is with us, so we'll soon have a happy landing too. Thank you.
Would someone like to reply? From Linköping, maybe? Skärblacka? Do we have Skärblacka here? Yes, we know. We are along the same lines, and that is very, very promising. And we all wait for this flight, we know that. So maybe Jesper have some information on that.
Yes, I have.
From the team working
Thank you, Martin.
hard.
Appreciate the collaboration, and from the industry, IBG, ATM, also very pleased to be a part of this project together. And we see the quadruple helix with the municipality as a one part. All right, so as you've been seeing, we work very intense to solve this problem, and this is actually quite exciting within Chorus project to see how we can think dynamically when things occur. The positive news is we're going to see something fly very soon. If you see behind your shoulder, you can see the drone is being mounted outside. And as we know, it did exactly what it was programmed to do. So in a safety perspective, it was a big success. And this will come to the project as important information. It lost some connection, and after a while it has to go back due to procedures. Nothing was wrong, but it needs also a complete analysis. So the Katla team have worked very hard, but they can't do the complete analysis in this short period of time. But due to the event, we still want to see the same drone fly and land. So they have arranged so the drone have come here by car the last 22 kilometers. But it is the same drone, it's intact, and it will fly actually 4:45. So in 10 minutes. But now I'm feeling, I can't promise so much because, you know, we work with aviation. But now it's actually, I can see the drone there, and it will fly, and it will do a landing, and you can see the same drone that took off, that you saw on the screen, actually also do a flight in the control zone here. And why didn't it fly the last part? Because of the analysis that needs to be done after it goes back home. And still it can do a VLOS flight within a controlled airspace. So we're very glad for the Katla team. They worked very hard and fast. Norrköping Airport that opened up also and allow us to do this. And we can proceed almost as we planned, but with a little bit of learnings on the way, directly to the Chorus project. So for me it's happy news, and I hope we will enjoy to see the drone in the sky in about 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. So we just continue with some information here, and in the meantime you may scan Christina's code. I take the opportunity to leave some essential information. The Katla estimated takeoff is being updated, so we will see that very soon. And we will be able to go to the airside after the landing. We have a bus which we are in control of. It will depart just outside the arrival gates, and it will go to the dinner location, Magnetus, the Hospitalsgatan 30. And of course we have facilities there because we may need that. It opens at Magentus, and the dinner starts at 6:30, so 6:30 tonight. And those who are going there, you must have your badge, otherwise we cannot let you in. You must have bring your badge, or 10 friends who can tell you is you, something like that. But bring your badge, because there will be guards. Yes, keep the badge. And for tomorrow, Jesper, thank you. Jesper is very supportive here. I think we should give Jesper a little thanks. Yeah, he called me very late at nights. Tomorrow is another day, and it's a little bit other perspective on that day, but it also, it's not so much overlap, but it just builds on and really link this to the European context. And there will be keynotes by Eurocontrol, there will be a panel shared by Andrew, and there'll be members in that panel. There will be a kind of exhibition there. And after the lunch at the IBG offices and facilities, we will have a short walk to Linköping University, the third party in this project, where we will have a demonstration where we also use parts of this data generated today and see how we can develop different cases of safety and operational aspects based on the real data. So that is also very interesting to follow that. Mr. Hassler. Västgötegatan 15D. Västgötegatan 15D. Det ska vi skriva upp här sedan. Och sen kommer det vara en presentation efter det och kaffe. I spoke in Swedish. Yes. Västgötegatan 15D. I write it here. You can put it in your phone, okay? Yeah, this is really. Maybe I'm a bit overworked. The Google IBG. You're right. I cannot write on this. It's a picture. I write it here. IBG. All right. Show that later. You can put it into your phone. Yes, the bar opens. There's nothing more to say about that. So we will take the bus when we see no one is left here. So the bus will go, and those who have own cars and so on, you manage that. IBG tomorrow. Yes. So we have a few minutes. If there are any urgent things or anyone who would like to share something. And tomorrow there will be an excellent opportunity to share things together in a workshop style, where we will have good facilitators, and we will have an introduction to set you in the right mode. And that is very important, because there you will be able to express your concerns and ideas and experiences and share that. And that will be taken to the documentation later on. And we will have 5 different areas tomorrow. Social and environmental impacts with UAM, AAM. Christina will lead that, of course, and collect a lot of useful data. She will listen to whatever you say. What about the future? We see here's a kind of new gathering. These new groups coming together, and we have a kind of common goal. Oh wow, are we happy with that for the next 5 years, maybe? For the 10 years? Oh, maybe we need something else. Maybe we need a space corporation or something to join us. We don't really know. So what is the models in the future that will be functional? Technology is always very interesting, so you have to choose your group tomorrow, okay? Cybersecurity, counter UAS. This business was very active in the beginning, then it was nearly dead. Now it's very active again, because a lot of things happening in this area. And the cybersecurity is hotter than ever, and digital threats. That will also be a very interesting group. And the intermodality, you know, Commission has talked about this for 20 years. Now it's happened, or in 5 years from now. We need to address it. I think we together can address it and give useful lessons learned and document what's on our mind in it. How will it? What is needed, and so on. How can we progress in this intermodality? So that is what's happening tomorrow. One of the things, which is important, where you all are needed. Your participation is needed. Yes. What's more? I want to keep you here forever. It's so nice. No, I think it's time now to go to the window and see you at the dinner tonight or tomorrow. Thank you, everyone.